If the Milwaukee Bucks don't beat the Brooklyn Nets, I don't believe any team in the NBA is going to beat the Brooklyn Nets. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the league that's equipped to stop the Brooklyn Nets. And the reason is because they have versatile defenders and also because they got guys that can also score on the offensive side of the court. Now, when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, I'm not picking them to win, Milwaukee Bucks to win this series, but I think it can go at least 7 games. And it could come down to a really close series if the Milwaukee Bucks execute their defense and offensive strategy to a T. Now, when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, we know what they bring to the table. They have the 3 most skilled basketball players in the league right now: Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. This group is lethal. What they do on the offensive side of the court, the high pick and rolls to James Harden to get to the rim and attack and to draw fouls or kick it out to shooters, or the pin downs for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on the wings. It's very phenomenal. What we see basically is the Houston Rockets offense on steroids, and teams can't blitz James Harden like they did in Houston, because if you blitz James Harden, you got to deal with an open Kyrie Irving. You got to deal with an open Kevin Durant. So the Brooklyn Nets are special on the offensive side of the floor, and their best offense is their best defense. If they're constantly putting pressure on defenses with their ability to score, that is their best defense, and they're getting like key stops on the defensive side of the court when they need to. That's kind of the strategy of what the Brooklyn Nets are going about. Now, when we look at the Milwaukee Bucks, and the reason why I feel like they are the best team equipped to handle and possibly upset and beat the Brooklyn Nets is because nobody can build a wall against Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's only 3 teams in the NBA that has that personnel to really build a wall to stop and limit some of Giannis driving to the basket, and that was the Miami Heat, who they just killed. That's the Toronto Raptors. They have the athletes. They're not in the playoffs. And that's also possibly the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron James and the crew. But the Brooklyn Nets can't do that. So Giannis has to be a true superstar. The way he dominates in the regular season, he has to dominate in this upcoming matchup with the Brooklyn Nets. He has to be a force. Now, for the defensive strategy for the Milwaukee Bucks, I just talked about how teams can't really blitz them, and yet they're blitzing Kyrie, they're blitzing Kevin Durant, they're blitzing James Harden. It makes no sense. To be honest, the best way and the formula to beat the Brooklyn Nets, is crazy as this may seem, is to play them straight up. You got to have versatile defenders that can switch them. You got to be able to go over the screens or go under the screens. If you're going to go under the screens, you're going to switch. If you're going to go over the top of the screens, you're going to stay with your man. But having the ability to switch 1 through 4 and possibly 1 through 5 on the defensive side of the floor, it's not many teams that have that type of versatility, and the Milwaukee Bucks have that versatility. They have a Drew Holiday. They have a PJ Tucker. They have a Giannis Antetokounmpo. They have a Chris Middleton. They got guys. Brook Lopez can help side defense and rim protect. Also, Giannis can as well, as when he's at his best. Not necessarily guarding, but he can guard at times. So you have a solid group that can switch 1 through 5, and you don't blitz them. You just play everybody straight up, and you just make them hit difficult and tough shots. As great as isolation scores Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden are, that can get tiring. That can get taxing on your body, especially if a team has the personnel that can put up points on the opposite end of the floor. And that's what Giannis is going to have to do: dominate the paint. Chris Middleton can put the ball on the floor. Drew Holiday can score. PJ Tucker can hit open threes. So can Brook Lopez. They also got Bobby Portis that can come off the bench. Forbes can come off and get hot. So they got players that can defend the Brooklyn Nets, and also they got players that can go in the opposite end and make them defend. And that's what you have to do. You got to make Kyrie Irving defend. You got to make James Harden defend. You got to make Kevin Durant defend, even if they don't want to defend. But you got to be able to put up points on the offensive side and the end of the floor, not just stop them on the defensive side, because you're not going to necessarily stop them completely. But if you can make things hard for them, and you can put up the same amount of points that they can put up, or have that versatility too, that's why I say the Milwaukee Bucks are probably the only team in the NBA that I see that has really a legitimate shot of knocking off the Brooklyn Nets, because they had the versatile defenders, and offensively, they're elite on the offensive side of the floor. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be special. That being said, I'm still taking the Brooklyn Nets in 7. But if there's any team I believe that has a legit chance of stopping this title run for the Brooklyn Nets, it has to be the Milwaukee. If the Milwaukee Bucks don't get it done, I don't believe any other team in the NBA this postseason will get it done.